World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Live from Soul City. Good morning, community. Good morning, community is a platform where members of the community can find out more about small businesses, artists, entrepreneurs, members of our community and community-based organizations. Also, how to get involved, how to connect online, volunteer, or donate, as well as some of the resources and services they provide. At Good Morning Community, we offer encouragement, share resources. We encourage you to hold yourself accountable. And most importantly, we genuinely want to see you win. My name is Eartha Watts Hicks. I am the CEO of Eartha Tone Books, publisher of Love Changes, Graffiti Mural, and A Planner is a Girl's Best Friend, as well as a freelance writer, editor, and PR writer and affiliate for BlackPR.com, executive editor for Harlem World Magazine, and a longtime member of the Harlem Writers Guild. And of course, again, April is National Poetry Month. So let's give a shout out to all of the poets out there, and including some of our favorites like Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, Langston Hughes, all of those who create the words that give our spirits special song. Let's call it special song. I am your host, and of course, today's special guest is Aisha Saran. Now, Aisha Saran is a Philadelphia-based actress, writer, model, author, and educator. Since 2013, she has pursued acting seriously and has appeared in roughly 15 stage plays, 8 feature films, and various television productions, including BET, TV One, and Netflix. Currently, Aisha can be seen portraying Marsha Brown, the lead character on the original TV series The Undertaker by Philadelphia writer, director, and playwright Betty Pickney. Aisha has been specifically serving as a print model for the Philadelphia fashion brand Black Sands of Cairo, and she has also walked the runway in New York Fashion Week. In 2021, she wrote her first book entitled The Saran Strategy, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing, Building, and Branding. This guide for young ladies includes personal anecdotes and open-ended questions. And in addition to this, Aisha is the CEO of Saran Vision, LLC. She is passionate about authentic storytelling and wants to inspire others to be the best version of themselves. And aside from all of this greatness and positivity, Aisha has been an educator since 2014, teaching youth from kindergarten to 12th grade with a special affinity for teaching students with special needs and or behavioral challenges. Welcome, my love, Aisha Saran. Welcome to Good Morning Community.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm very happy to have you as a guest with your amazing self. Uh, I'm going to start with the acting and the performing arts end of your existence, because you do so much in such lovely ways. Um, what When did you identify your passion for acting? So when did you first say, "Hey, that's what I want to do"?
I was always dramatic growing up, uh,
Mhm.
to be quite frank. So I think kind of like, not to sound cheesy, I think it kind of chose me. I wasn't growing up thinking I want to be an actress. It's funny because I learned when I got older that my family, I think at one point, it's funny, I was born in 1991. So obviously we know the Cosby Show, and I started in 1984. I believe it went off the air, I think in like 1990 or 1991. But of course, there was like the what's the word, when it came back, like the resurgence of the show. They did another Cosby Show that came up eventually, and I
Mhm.
guess they were looking for some kids, and apparently my family did like submit my photo, I think, to the show. So I'm like, okay,
Okay.
they saw something, I guess, in me, because I was always so dramatic, but very animated, very bubbly. Also, I used to imitate people a lot, so that's also the story in my family. Like, I would imitate my grandmother in particular. My grandmother has a very like boisterous laugh, so I would kind of like, they bought me a phone when I was younger, and I would like copy her when she was on the phone. And I'd be like, what? Okay, bye bye. Like, whatever she can do. So over time, I guess. And then, like, I would act in church, like different, um, Easter recitations, Resurrection Sunday, stuff for Christmas. So I always really, really enjoyed it.
Wow. Wow. So it was a natural ability that your family recognized, and they just sort of encouraged you in that direction.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then also performances at church and thing. I love that. I love how you had your family support in acting, and how they sort of embrace what you were naturally gifted at, and they identified it early. So that's beautiful, especially when it happens in our community early. So I think that's very, very, very special. Um, Now, when was your first major role?
The first major one, I guess, like we can say, it was in 2016 when I was hired. So when I say BET TV One, I did crime reenactment shows, so people to watch like the ID channel and all that. Both times I actually got selected, I actually was the lead, and I was like the killer in both. It's only on TV, right? But for the one on BET, it was a show they like rebranded themselves. There was a show called Criminals at Work. And it's funny, one of my actor friends, she like texted me one day, oh yeah, submit your photo to this, email, try and get on TV. So I'm like, this probably isn't real, but I did it anyway. So I had nothing to lose. So I sent a picture of myself, my name, my height, my age, that kind of stuff. And I forgot about it. So one day, I think I was on like Facebook, and someone's like messaging me like, "Hey, we're trying to cast you." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I ignored it, like it's not real. And I checked my email, and I had like 6 emails back to back, like, "Hey, we're trying to cast you. We're trying to cast you. We're trying to cast you." And they ended up being legit. So they gave me a scenario to act out like improv, and I got hired. So I remember I was told this on November 3rd, I believe. I had to be down in Virginia filming on November 5th. So it just happened really, really fast and really, really random.
Wow, it's funny. I'll admit to watching those shows all the time, right? But the funny thing about it is that they look so real that when they do the reenactments, you forget that the person doing the reenactment is not the person that actually did it.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
People have a hard time separating that too, because it's like people were talking about it, so you can't take it personally. You're like, oh, like what a terrible person, And I'm like, hey, it's not me, But it comes to territory. And then after that, I did do a rush car commercial, and your daughter mentioned it. She saw it one time in New York. I didn't know she saw it in New York, but I did that in 2016 as well. So that was random as well. So I played a yoga student and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I love that. I have, I'll just say a few friends who are either actresses or models. And I love the feeling of just, hi, I'm in Macy's. Whoa, look at that billboard. I know her. Oh,
Yes.
I'm in Sephora. Wow, look at that signage. I know her. Wow, I'm at the bus stop. Whoa, look at that. I know her. So I
Mhm.
love that feeling of recognizing my people I genuinely know on the signage and in the bus stops, and because now there's media everywhere, and you know your image could be anywhere.
No, it's funny you say that because when I was actually I went to a premiere for a film that came out in, I want to say maybe it was 2014 or 2015. And it was, at the American Black Film Festival was selected. So I was one, in the movie. And I had a small part, but it said there's no small parts, only small actors. So, it's funny because the role I have that I had in the film, at least I'll say, like, I didn't say much, but like the scene kept flashbacking, like to the scene, like the movie kept flashbacking to the scene I was in. So you actually saw me a lot. And when I was out there, I remember walking by with my friend and said, oh, I saw this really, really handsome man. And I said, wow, he's really, really cute. He looks, he should probably be a model. And the guy heard me and he turned around, looked at me. He was like, I am a model, right? And his name is Micah, and we talked a little bit. And then maybe weeks later, I went to a store, like you said, and I saw him. I'm like, wait, that's Micah. He was on he was he's one of the bod guys, I think. Like he was on the actual bottle, I think, of either cologne or lotion. I was like, hey, there he is, so that is really funny.
Wow. And you have a really, really unique look. You have just a very your face is like artwork.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. I know it's strange coming from family, but it's the truth. So let's just get that out there. So your look can fit everywhere, from fashion to perfume to so your options should be plenty.
Well, thank
So
you.
so what role are you most proud of or hold most closely to your heart?
That's a really good question.
And in the arts.
In the
In the arts.
Not life.
Paying attention is cheating.
So I will say this. There's a character, like I said, right now, a show is called The Undertaker. There's a premiere for that in August. It is right now shown on the Reveal platform. It's something online, reveal.net. So REVEEL.net. I have not watched it yet. It's funny. I think something about when you film something, not you get kind of embarrassed seeing yourself, but it's like, how did all this come together? So I'm gonna watch these episodes back to back. Because I really did enjoy filming it. But the character I play is very complex. So on the surface, he's a really mean character because she comes off like as a pillar of the community, but you find out some dark secrets about her and who she really is internally. But because there's almost like a dual personality that she has, I was able to resonate and humanize her a bit, because there's a reason why we all do what we do. And I think sometimes people are so set on trying to put someone in one kind of box. It's like if you try to allow any of us 24/7, there's some things you may not want to see yourself or other people to see. And, it's important that we understand that we are complex as human beings and we have our up days and our down days, or, and there's no shame in that. So I did enjoy playing that role because it got to show the complexities of people.
Wow. Now I'm going to ask this only because I know you. Did you ever consider going into psychology or psychotherapy? Because you have just this natural, innate ability to just connect with people, and so I'm trying to see if that came from the acting, because I know when you do character development, it's really some form of psychology. So I wondered, did you ever consider going into psychology?
Yeah, one of my friends, funny,
Huh?
Yeah, no, one of my friends said to me years ago, she's like, one of my friends told me years ago that I have a certain skill of just understanding psychology. And I think part of that just is just who I am, just being very observant of others, but also being introspective too. I think a big issue a lot of people have is when people are not being able to be honest about, like I said, our ups and our downs, right? So if everyone's walking around with a mask on, everything is fine when it's not, you know what I mean? that eventually you're going to either crack or, something's going to happen. So I guess for me, when it comes to like psychology, it's like bringing that humanity part out, that we are all connected as human beings. And maybe also me being a teacher plays a role too, because I'm like, we're in the world with each other, whether we like each other or not, right? So I think sometimes that we don't look at it that way, like, we are just a little speck on this big planet. And this idea of like shunning other people, even ourselves, because someone's different from you. I'm like, we're different from someone as well. Who are we to try to cast somebody away because we don't understand them, So it's just like, to answer your question as far as with the acting, I never really thought about taking a psychology class because of that, but I've always been interested in that type of thing. And I've done my own research a lot. Like I'll start digging about a person and I'll like learn about who they are, who are their parents, who are their friends. And one of my favorite people ever is Eartha Kitt, right? So, like understanding who these people were, not just what their image is, that they were living, breathing people with dreams, aspirations, and their own vulnerabilities as well.
Wow. I mean, you just have, I notice you have a natural ability to just connect and assess and just comfort. So I was like, wow, just knowing you, I was like, wow, she would make a great therapist, but I already know you're educated and you wear so many different hats. So let's dig into this book. Now,
okay.
Who did you intend your audience to be when creating your book?
It was primarily for, I'll say, Black girls and women, right? Anyone can read it. Let me be very clear. It's not to be discriminatory. However, we know, especially as a Black American experience, we talked about that in different ways. A lot of times, like, our experiences are, in my opinion at least, let me speak for myself, I don't really see a lot of things that are like focused around what our needs are. And I wanted something almost like a love letter to other Black females, meaning girls and women, to discuss like things that we deal with that we know specifically by being not only female, but also by being Black in the world. And a lot of the masks we wear just for survival, even we're around even each other. So I was thinking about what to call it. And like I said, I put it in the book as well. My full name is Aisha Saran. I have a very long name. And for acting, I spelled my first name the Arabic way, Aisha. My name's actually spelled Ieisha. So people who know me well, they'll spell my name the way it really is spelled. But I felt like Aisha Saran had a better ring than Aisha Patterson. My last name's Patterson. So it's more so just like talking about those things that make us unique, our quirks. I'd have some personal anecdotes in there as well. I learned from teaching early. One of my former colleagues told me, she was like, be the biggest fool in the room. So almost like that way people feel more comfortable if they see that you're kind of acting silly and you're vulnerable. So there are things in the book that seemingly could seem like a little embarrassing, but I know that they resonate with other people. They just may not admit it out of their own embarrassment. But if I do it, it makes them open up. That's why I did it. And it's also for open-ended questions in there too. That's the teacher in me, like still answer some questions and jot it down.
I love the cover, and I'm definitely going to grab a copy and read and leave a review, and give you a call and let you know my thoughts. And but I adore this cover. I think it's very, very cute. It's very reminiscent of just how we are as Black women in our authenticity. We're reserved, we're focused, we're always looking for solutions. So I see all of that in your cover, and I think it's gorgeous.
Thank you. And that's based on a real picture of me and a dress I have. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I initially wanted this a Black dress, but wow. I was like, oh, so I was surprised with that. He actually took the actual dress.
Yeah, no, I think it's beautiful. Oh, wow. Wow. So, as far as this book, is this the first in a series? Is it a standalone? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction?
Oh no, it's definitely nonfiction. This is a nonfiction book. um, yes. So it's all about. It's almost. You know what? Also helped me with it. One day I was looking through my yearbooks from like junior high, high school, and when you look at those books and see what people wrote about you, and if you may have a bad day, you look at what people said about you. Some things you may see, some things you may not see, but they saw in you, right? So even in the book, I do have one part when you write a letter to yourself. And I even said, like, whenever you're having a bad day, go back and look at what you wrote about
Right.
yourself. So I wanted something that was very sleek, that can always be just in your bag. It's not too long, but it's a way that people can always go back and review certain things.
Can
But
you
just to
read a
remind
segment?
yourself of who we are.
Can you read a segment for us?
Sure. Sure. Okay. How about this? I will go right. Let me see. Okay. I will start from here. I'll say this part. As a Black woman, this is part of my introduction. As a Black woman, I've always believed in myself, despite others not always believing in me. In many situations, I had to tell myself positive things about myself since I didn't receive it from others. I had to learn that I was worthy as I was, and that my duty was to always remember my worthiness. The message I want to send to all Black women is that we are complex beings. Often in society, we are put down for simply being ourselves. We are shamed for being too average, yet also shamed for being too different. Due to that, many of us will abandon who we truly are to fit in with the majority. It can really become exhausting and even depressing trying to become who others think we should be. For that reason, I want to stress the importance of us embracing who we are despite what others say. This is easier said than done because people really can be cruel, excuse me, and who wants to be mistreated. Our purpose, however, matters so much more than people's opinions. I want us to be able to look at the big picture and live the fabulous lives we deserve.
Wow. Our purpose matters more than people's opinions. That is true and profound. I love self-help books. I love nonfiction books, and I definitely love books about Black women just being Black women. And we don't get too many self-help books about Black women and our affinity for being our best selves. Not too many. At least not in a book form. Whole book. We'll get articles here and there on what we could do to our hair and our skin and all this and all that, and then we'll get like motivation from each other. But as far as self-help books specifically for Black women, they're out there, but they're not recommended to each other. It's like when we speak to each other about recommending books, it's like, who moved my cheese? Who moved my Black women's cheese?
Yeah.
Where's we need to really focus on giving those messages of positivity to each other, from each other, in our own words. So
right.
I would be happy to recommend your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, because like I said, when it comes to self-help, it's like we'll get fashion advice, we'll give makeup advice, we'll give all kinds of advice, but when you dig down into what it is that we're experiencing and what our purpose is, we need the cream of these books to rise to the top. So I'll be more than happy to add the cream and yours be the cherry right on top of that sundae.
No, thank you. And that's part of it too. Like part of if I marry like the arts and education, very similar to you because you're an educator as well, right? This idea of we don't, as a collective, people don't understand when it comes to why media is so powerful, right? Because media it is education. Media does more than any teacher could ever do, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why, like, and I'm someone who's traveled a few times out the country. Like, you go to a certain place, there is an idea of what Blackness is, how Black women and girls are, how Black men and boys are, right? Because it's social engineering. Media is powerful. whether that's in imagery, if you're looking at music videos, if you're looking at movies, what roles are available, right? Because that's what people see. So there's big business and not empowering Black girls and women in particular, right? If you don't see yourself, you feel that you're at the bottom, and that, you know, affects the choices that you make. It affects what you believe you're even worth yourself. So like you mentioned, if we do it for each other, you know, because we are beaten down constantly. We don't even realize how much we are, you know. And I think we talked about this recently, like a quote from a friend of mine. She said, she's like, you know, if you sit in, you know, crap long enough, it starts to smell good. Like that becomes your normal. You don't realize you're in filth, right? If that's all you see. So someone has to come along and remind you, like, this isn't it. And you are worth so much more than that. And I'm someone personally, like I said, I have my bad days too. You know, we're only human. So, you know, sometimes that strength comes from, obviously I believe God first, but through us to remember who we are, and then we're able to help someone else. So it's an ongoing thing.
Right, right. And you know, sometimes I think we experience what we experience to share our experience with others to help them through what they're going through. Mm-hmm. So I love how you've laid it out in a book for those who are searching, because the book is always for the reader who is looking for a solution or a distraction. Yeah. You know, so for those who are looking for a solution, this is definitely one that I can already tell is going to be full of just insight and structured ways to encourage ourselves. Thanks to your advice and your suggestions. I already feel it. Just knowing you, I can already feel it, and I'm eager to see what you actually put on the page. I want to shout out to Sherwin Exhale, who is also watching. Thank you for watching, Sherwin. And thank you for always recommending amazing guests. And Sherwin, if you don't mind, I'm going to pass your information along to my dear friend, Aisha here. Yes. Okay. Sherwin Exhale is a professional comedian and stand-up comic. He's also a casting director.
Yes, so, Sherwin, actually, he followed me on Instagram. I followed him back. Yes. Okay. So I'll pass his information along so that you two can connect, because Sherwin's amazing as well. I've known Sherwin for, what year is this? At least 10 of these years I've known Sherwin, and he's already become like family. So thanks, Sherwin. But yeah, so there is the book. So let's go into your passion of passions, which is education. When did you realize that educating others would be your gift? So I didn't know that. I will say, like, the same, like simultaneously when I was in church as a little girl and doing acting, that kind of stuff, I was teaching Vacation Bible School. My mother and my uncle were Sunday school teachers. My grandparents are both preachers' kids. I mean, that was just what it was. So growing up, it was, Monday through Friday at school. Saturday's like the day off. Sunday is church day. It's Sunday school, it's church. You go home, take a after church nap. It's time for family dinner. Like, that's the way I grew up. And it was very, and I'm very, I was appreciative when I was a child, but the older I am now, I really value that. Because a lot of people didn't do that, but it's a foundation. I have that foundation, of how I grew up. So with that being said, I like, if I would ever play a game, I would play, you play teacher. So I would have like my mom as my student, and I can get away with calling her by her first name, but real slick. I'm like, oh, hey, because I'm the teacher. But I would play around with that sometimes. So kind of still me, marrying acting and education. But when I graduated from high school, I, got into Lincoln right away. They said, that's where you're going. I went to Lincoln. And, I decided I'll go into education. But it wasn't like I was growing up thinking I would do education. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, I used to want to be a veterinarian. So I love animals. But, I never really followed through with that as far as, okay, like you got to go to school to be a doctor, like, you know, all these kind of things. But I just loved animals, and I still do. But I guess with like teaching, it was like, you know, it's a job I know that will always be in demand. And it's interesting. Like, I remember I had the highest GPA in the major. Like, I won an award for the like most like outstanding English. Like, what was it? The award? It was like outstanding like English education student. It was something along those lines. I got two other scouts all one night, like back to back to back. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, I want to go act. They're like, what? So they're like, that rarely happens. But lo and behold, it still did for me. But I still got sucked into the education world. And just like back to back, my first actual teaching job in 2014, I was a community health educator. And I essentially was a traveling holistic health teacher, like traveling for different schools in Philadelphia. So I taught kids as like at that point, like as young as like, 5 years old, up to like early, adulthood, residential areas, youth who were, sent away from their families due to their either mental health or behavioral choices, charter schools, public schools. I started subbing, and I only want the sub so I can make money in between me doing acting gigs. Okay. And then one day I got an alert, like, you know what, you come highly recommended. We want you for a longer role. So I started long-term subbing. And my first long-time subbing position was an English language learner teacher for students who primarily spoke Spanish, and it was for a Black history class. So I just had so many experiences. So it's just so random. Like if you were to say this, they always say you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Like if you were to tell me when I was like 15, hey, when you're, by the time you're about to be 35, you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z. I'd be like, yeah, okay. That wasn't something I was constantly thinking about. But I love it. And especially as it relates to special education, I never thought I would be in special education. I remember going through stuff years ago, like not like an argument, like us being mad at each other, but I used to kind of be very rah-rah, like, especially knowing how things are with Black people, and especially as it was like labeling Black boys, like, oh, this boy we can't control, so he has special needs. I'm like, is that true? A lot of these beliefs have a very racist foundation. So I used to be kind of like, I don't believe in ADHD. I don't believe in this, that kind of stuff. But then, as I got to be more around it, it's important that there are advocates who are of the community, because yes, it's very much a real thing, but also you don't want to mislabel or over-label either. So the students I've worked with, I'm like, I let them know, despite however you are labeled, you are worthy, you are something, and you're in the world with everybody else. So your ADHD or your autism or, your dyslexia has nothing to do with what you're able to achieve. And when you're in the world, there is no ADHD line. You're with everybody else. And you need to be spoken to like everybody else. So because of that, I've been very successful because they're like, I've had people walk up to me, and one of my colleagues, she was like, I don't know what you're doing with him, but it's working. But I'm like, I stay on them. I hold them to a standard, and I've had kids come to me initially like, oh, I can't help it. I'm like, no, you can. I'm like, if you can tell me you can't, that means you can. Someone who couldn't articulate that. So I talk to them like there's nothing different about them. And from there, it really helps to build their self-esteem, and they get a lot sharper, and they know that they are somebody. So I guess, yeah.
Wow. I'm going to add this piece here. I've noticed that children perform better for teachers that like them.
Absolutely.
So if they know a teacher likes them, they perform better for the teacher that likes them, regardless of whether this one or that one says that they're misbehaved or whatever. If they know that teacher likes them, they rise to the occasion. So it does young students a disservice to be labeled. Right,
it does. And it's funny you say that because, like I said, I tore my students up. Let's be all the way clear when they act up, right? But there's like a part they do like a student survey at the end of the year. One of the questions is like, oh, like, I know my teacher cares about me, right? And when I tell you all my students say, yeah, I know you do. Like every single one, I like pass with flying colors on that question. But I would tell them, I'm like, guys, if I did not care about you, I would not hold you to a standard. Like, you know what I mean? Even the kids I worked with who were in elementary school, and I didn't even think to even give them calculators. They didn't get calculators from me until April. And that was only because was a standardized test. I'm like, we need a calculator for it. But if we have a struggle with knowing where, like place value goes, we have to practice that skill. Longhand, write it down, pencil to paper, right? So it got to the point where other kids would come in the room sometimes who were older, and my students would like surpass them completely because we were practicing those skills. And I'm like, guys, it's not about like, it's nice if you like me and all, but that doesn't matter to me. I care about you understanding the material. And one of the nicest things a parent probably said to me, she was like with her son, who was he has unruly moments in the very beginning. And she famously said to me, she was like, oh, when we first met, she was like, he doesn't like the word no. And I said, well, that's one of my favorite words. You don't get very familiar with that word, right? By the end of the year, we had a meeting about him. And she said she could tell this year that he felt safer in the classroom. He was more confident and he knew what he was doing. That she was not doing his work. She's just doing his work for him. She was like, nope, he does it himself. And his behavior got better. But I had to be consistent on him. This is not acceptable. This is what we're going to do. And when I left the job, I was somewhere else. My colleague texted me. She was like, out of nowhere, this same boy said to me, he's like, you know what? I really miss Miss Patterson. She was the best teacher I ever had. Like he just said it. And it was so sweet. I'm like, he said it out of nowhere. Like just, yeah.
Whew. I mean, and as you're speaking, I'm like, it's amazing how teaching is some people's calling, as in it's a very specific gift that that they use to cultivate the next generation. And for those that have that ability and the patience to be consistent, to encourage them, to teach them, to show them, to impart the knowledge as well as the life lessons. That's a calling, and it's amazing to see it manifest in those who have a gift for it, and to see them demonstrate what it is that they do. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Kudos to you, because it's I'm gonna say it's not easy. Let me just say it and not even try to sugarcoat it. It's not easy to understand how today's generation goes about doing that when things are done differently than it was done in my generation.
Absolutely.
Teachers don't have the same options. Parents don't have the same options. So understanding that discipline now is different, way different from what discipline was many years ago. It's amazing to see structure, and to see an educator able to provide structure for students and to have them benefit from it.
And to go back to like Black womanhood, when I tell you part of what really changed my life as an educator was Michelle Obama. She did an interview with, was it Angie Martinez, Tina Knowles, so Beyonce's mother, Kelly Rowland, and a few others. And Kelly had asked the question, well, don't you want your child to be like your friend? And she was like, no. She was like, when you are trying to be your child's friend, you're worried about your child liking you. And there's so many things about parenting that have nothing to do if your child likes you or not. There are things you have to teach them that counter what they want. And they have to learn how to sit in their unhappiness and deal with unfairness and hear the word no, because life is going to give them that. And so when I said substitute the word, parenting, for teaching, obviously I'm not these children's parent. Parent is also a verb, though. It's not just a noun, right? I had to remember that. I made mistakes. I used to be like that, and I wanted a child to be upset. I'm like, no, of course you're not going there to hurt a child's feelings, never that. But you're talking to the topic. And I would tell them, you can be mad, and you can be mad. That's fine. But this is what it is. And I have one more story I'll say real quick, briefly. Another student in that same class, cutting up, right? And because I was consistent, I said, if I say I'm gonna call your mom, I'm calling mom. They know what it is, right? So he did something on Friday. I called his mom Sunday just to say, he may have a conversation with them just to remind them about our expectations in the classroom. And she bust out laughing. She was like, when he came home Friday, he gave me his phone, ate his dinner, and went to bed early. Because he knew I was going to call. But she told me, she was like, "You're the best teacher he's ever had." She's like, because I was on him. It's like you have to be consistent, and they can get mad. No, and they would get mad and walk up and hug. You know what I mean? But that's where the safety comes from. Like, I'm not here. I'm old enough to be your mom. I'm not here to be your friend. That wouldn't make sense. I'm here to guide you, right? Because you have to understand that and learn it now. And I told him, I said, look, I'd rather you learn this lesson now. So that way, by the time you're 16, you're like, I dealt with that when I was 10. Versus you having a breakdown because you were never told from the beginning. So that kind of stuff.
Wow. Wow. I'm not sure if you've heard of this educator, but if you have not heard of this educator, please do some research on her. Because as you speak, you remind me a lot of her. Marva Collins.
I heard the name. I have.
Read up on Marva Collins and her teaching methods. Marva Collins was a teacher out of the ghettos of Chicago who educated a lot of students who were thought to be illiterate or who were struggling with literacy and struggling with maintaining the aptitude. And through love and encouragement and coaxing them and holding them to a standard, she educated these same students to near genius level aptitude.
Oh, wow.
You know, so they went on to colleges and scholarships and the whole bit. Yeah. So that's Marva Collins. Please look her up, simply because some of what she did and the parts of her story that I know, I'm seeing all of that energy and just what you're saying. So it's like you picked up that vibe and you're carrying that torch. So please study up on her, because you're already doing the same thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, already doing the same thing. I want to give a shout out to those who are watching. Joseph Luciano, thank you for watching us. And if you're watching us, Sherwin XL, Joseph Luciano, Imperious Enterprises, and Jamel, Tony, thank you for watching us. Please, as you are watching, just click the subscribe button so we can make those numbers grow just a little bit more. Thank you for watching. I want to remind you to subscribe to us on Soul City Network on YouTube, and to connect with me at Eartha Tone on Instagram and everywhere else. And excuse me. And to connect with Miss _ Saran. Miss _ Saran on Instagram, right?
Yes.
So connect with Miss _ Saran on Instagram, connect with me at Eartha Tone, and then also connect with Soul City Network on Facebook and on Instagram, and follow us across social media so that you'll stay in the loop for what it is that we're doing and these conversations that we're having. So we are author, we are model. How did it feel walking in New York Fashion Week? I have to ask that.
It was just random. So here's the thing. So I'm only 5'3". I'm 5'3.5". So I'm short, right? So you're short at 5'9" for modeling. And also in my body type, like I'm technically probably plus size for modeling. So this was like, 6 years ago. So 2020, right? And when I tell you, there was no rehearsal. Like, I got picked up. And you know what it was? I was teaching kindergarten. Like I said, this is February 2020. I remember because March 13th is when the whole world shut down for the pandemic. So I had parent-teacher conferences for my kindergartners. I was trying to leave early. I speak a little bit of Spanish, enough to get by a little bit. So they had me like a translator for Spanish-speaking parents for the conference. I'm like, guys, I'm not just going to, New York Fashion Week. I'm in the show. So I'm trying to wrap this up. I get picked up from a friend. We drive to New York. Right away, put the outfit on, you're out. So I didn't even know where the runway was. I didn't know what to do, but I just did what I could do or whatever, and it was great. you know, it's funny you hear like as you're walking, people say, "Oh, I like that outfit. I like a cat suit, like a brown, like leopard print kind of cat suit thing," and they caught the image of me walking. So even the woman who owns the brand, she was like, "You ever seen a strut like this?" You know what I mean? So I had that image, but it was fun. You know, I just didn't want to fall. So I'm like, look, I hope I do this correctly because it's so much that goes on behind fashion shows. People are taking the clothes off, and like I said, at this point, you get so used to it because no one's being a creep. You got to switch real quick and do what you got to do. But it was a lot of fun. I did enjoy it. So there are some other things coming up soon with that fashion brand as well. I can't say too much, but there are some things happening. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done some amateur modeling 30 some odd years ago. And I remember like the quick change. Everybody don't care. Everybody no, there's no modesty. Everybody's
nope,
just
none.
None. I was the one hiding behind the rack, changing my clothes because my attitude was, well, they ain't seen mine.
No, there is no modesty.
No modesty. None. You know, so kudos to you on that. So, as far as your next book, do you see yourself going into fiction?
Yes, it's funny you say that. So I do have an idea. I do want to do a reference to the Saran strategy, which of course is nonfiction, but I have thought about that. I do love fantasy, right? I love a good fairy tale. First of all, even on my phone, I can even show you. Hold on real quick. Like I have
right? She looks like you a little bit.
People have said that. They're like the lips, right? So technically it's actually Aurora, who is the princess from Sleeping Beauty, but I googled African American Aurora. So they gave her black hair, tan, that kind of stuff. But I love stuff like that, and I'm a very practical person, but I do love fairy tales. I just like whimsical kind of things. So I have thought about going into fiction. I thought about even like I do have a fantasy like playing like a villain, like in like a kind of fairy tale. And someone told me to like just write it, you know what I mean? So maybe I'll go into like doing a film that's like for children. But like now I'll be 35 tomorrow, so I'm auntie status. I'm literally to play that role now, you know. So I'm thinking about it. But I definitely do want to write more. Yeah.
And the one thing I love about writing and writing fiction is that you get to do all the things you want to do without getting in trouble for it.
Right. Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So it's like
I didn't say it; the character said it.
Right, and it's a very salacious way of living vicariously without suffering repercussions.
Right.
You know, the characters can suffer all the repercussions in the book and the lesson learned, and you walk away without a scratch.
Exactly.
You know, so I love fiction, and it's a way of learning lessons through experiential. I'm going to call it experiential world travel without actually necessarily robbing a bank. You know, you don't have to rob a bank. You don't have to, beat anybody up. You don't have to duck no darts. It's all in the page.
Yeah,
so I encourage you.
At a detention center mid-March, and I was speaking to young ladies who were there for various reasons. Of course, I wasn't privy to that, nor should I be. But they're young, maybe like average age 16, right? And I remember like I was there to talk about drama, like, how healing drama can be. And I did an activity about you build a character, and they loved it. So it's like, said, what's your character's name? What is their gender? When's their birthday? What do they do for fun? What's their personality like? And those kind of details, they were really into it. And 3 of the young ladies did something that I've never had students do before. They made characters, but their characters were sisters. So they intertwined with each other. I was like, that's really cool. But seeing how creative that they were. And I said in my last class, when it comes to writing, we either create something, that we wish could happen or that we don't want to happen. Like those dystopian books, your 1984s, things like that, versus fantasy, right? So as people, and we talked recently, I was like, it's a shame because most of the things that help people don't come with no money, right? But it's like this idea of the arts, like especially like in Philly where I am. Remember, like probably at this point, like at least like 12 years ago, there was like 20 something schools closed down, right? And then on top of that, a lot of the arts were stripped. I'm like, you cannot remove the arts. And there's such disrespect for the arts. People are always just this and that. I'm like, let's be clear. None of us are walking out here with no clothes on, right? Someone designed the clothes we're wearing. You know, if we're on our way to a job, we're listening to music. Someone writes these songs, someone performs. You want to get your stuff done to go home, watch your favorite show. Someone's acting in these shows. Someone's writing these shows. So to act as if like these things don't matter, you know, people really find their solace through the arts, whether that's comedy, whether it's painting, whether it's drawing. And I just think that we become so mechanical as people. A lot of people are suffering because they have to get that out. We are spiritual beings. You cannot just be all this, and this. Like, that's not who we are. And I think that's why we're seeing people who are really losing it, because it's like, I have all this in me. Where do I put it? You know, so those things matter.
Yeah. And oftentimes young people get into trouble simply because they're bored.
Yep.
Simply because they're bored. So music instruction requires repetition and rehearsal and practice, right? You don't have time to be bored if you're constantly doing repetition, constantly practicing, constantly doing the scales. They say idle time is the devil's workshop. But if you're constantly doing the scales to develop your skills, there is no idle time. You know,
exactly.
And also too, just to kind of give you some hip hop history, they took music, or were starting to take music out of the school systems, and young people started making music by banging on the tables and digging through the old record collections to just, you know, find little elements of rhythm from the records that they love to mash up and create a new sound. And that's what hip hop was. Yeah. And then the hip hop rap battles and the break dance was an alternative to gang violence, because the gangs used to physically fight. It used to be, you know, you go back to the 60s and look at some of those, you know, warlord movies back in the 60s. They were going at each other with little switchblades and all of that other kind of, and pistols. But the hip hop generation said, "Oh, wait a minute. We ain't got to shed no blood. Watch this."
It'll be a dance off, or it's a battle of the wits, like who's sharper. Who's quicker.
Yeah. And that was the birth of hip hop. So, you know, to see hip hop go from its original purpose and then turn violent again was like, it's sad. But we need to remember what the original purpose of hip hop was. And it was to save ourselves, because I was one of those kids, save ourselves from harming each other.
Right.
You know, because, you know, hip hop really was the dozens set to rhythm. You know, we did the dozens in the neighborhood, set that to rhythm. You know, hip hop battles had punchlines and insults built in. It was the dozens on rhythm, you know. But
yeah, and that's who we are. I mean, you say even ancestrally, it says melanated people in general. We are rhythm, right? And this hunger for that. And it's a universal thing, but it's like you cannot remove that. And we see what happens when you do. And we've gotten so out of touch with that, right? There's such little respect for that. And it's like, it's clearly everything else is not working, right? People don't want to humble themselves and say, hey, you know, let's do this. But just even movement, dancing, singing, like I said, if you're going to take the drums away, I'm going to beat on the desk. You know, I'm going to figure it out, you know. And I've been that way. I've gotten into not arguments with, you know, administrators, that kind of stuff, but like, I've been an advocate for students I work with, especially students with special needs, especially students with autism, because that is like the core is rhythm. It is the arts. It's like drawing. It's painting. They have to get that out. You cannot strip that from them. This is how they express themselves. And I had a student in particular. He's 5. He'll be 6 in May. His birthday is May 4th. Yeah, his birthday is coming up. This little boy loves music. I mean, but literally he's 5 right now. He loves Louis Armstrong. And if you put a video of Louis Armstrong, he just stops and at the stairs. Live instrumentation. That is his thing. You know, that is how he expresses himself. And he has like a speech impediment, but he belts his heart out with the melody. This is how he learns. You know what I'm saying? And there are a lot of places that will go and try to like knock that out of him. Like, okay, well, we do it like this. You like part of education, going back to that, is tailoring. You got to be able to know your audience, which kind of is like with acting too, right? Know your audience. What does this child need? And I will always say, like when it comes to IEP stands for, individualized education plans, or say individualized education programs, right? But technically, we all need an IEP because we all learn differently. So I will always try to take the stigma from that when kids like, oh, I got an IEP. I'm like, so? I'm like, you got your special needs. I got my special needs, right? We all do. I'm very visual, right? I have like my, for example, like even younger. I'm a very good speller if I write it. I have to look at it. If it's a spelling bee, I'll be like, I gotta think about how the letters look. But from memory, I am amazing. Give me a board. How to spell home real quick. I write it down. I just memorize it. But when I was younger, when it came to reading, my comprehension was terrible. I can read the words. I'm like, I don't know what it's about, right? And I'm someone to this day who still needs complete silence to really read something and keep it in. Some people can read and listen to music. They have to have music on to read. I'm not like that. It's not to say who's right or wrong. It's just different. You have to know who your kids are. I've been in rooms and teachers like, well, they can listen to music while they read. I'm like, but what if that helps them, right? If this child has on headphones and they're actually on task, why would I say no to that if this child's not bothering anybody and they're actually on task? Versus you just try to say no to them. Now you got a bigger problem. Now we got noise in the room because now they're having a meltdown. You got to be able to understand who you're talking to and what they need.
Right. Wow. Because I'm just thinking about like my learning method. I used to create songs to help me remember things. So like my vocabulary words: set, right, remedy, relief from worry or injury. That's the word address. Wow. Right. So like when I would get my vocabulary word, each vocabulary word had its own little song.
Okay. So hey, but you remembered it.
That's how I remembered it. So like there are words like right now that I can't forget because I remember the song: set, right, remedy, relief from worry or injury. It's going to always be the word redress, and there are a few others, but just to kind of get the idea. And even with spelling, it was the little song that helped me along, or like a little. And then also, I gotta blame Schoolhouse Rock. I gotta blame the electric company. I gotta blame the Children's Television Workshop and Sesame Street, which incidentally they started. I learned Sesame Street to help inner city children because they realized that there was a disadvantage that inner city children had because of the lack of resources for these schools.
Correct.
To grasp the information. So it was created as a supplement for inner city students to keep them on par.
Right.
And Sesame Street helped a lot of us learn how to read and how to count and how to stay on track and how to familiarize ourselves with information. So we got to give a shout out to PBS and all that they've done through the Children's Television Workshop and PBS was paid for in part from viewers. So to all of those who
absolutely. And I was a PBS kid, absolutely. I still remember AARDVARK from Arthur. Arthur came out when I was on my way to kindergarten. AARDVARK. And so it's like certain things you just remember, like not even realizing that kind of stuff. Yeah. Or the riddle, like I'm always coming but I never arrive. No, who am I? You are tomorrow. I learned that from Arthur, so certain things like that, they stick with you. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Aisha, you are truly a beam of golden light, honey. You are wonderful. You're wonderful energy. And I love what you're doing for the youth. And I love what you're doing through your book and your acting and appearing here, there, and everywhere. I want to remind people to pick up a copy of the Saran Strategy. Grab it, leave a review. 5 stars only, 5 stars only. Leave a review so that, more people can find out more about this work and more people can grab a copy. And follow Miss on Instagram at Miss Saran 9 on Instagram. Follow Aisha and follow her also on Facebook and connect with her. Thank you so much, Aisha, for joining us and for sharing your light and your joy and your positivity to our audience and to me especially. You are a gem.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being part of Good Morning Community, and you have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ooh, thank you for watching us. If you are an artist, if you are an entrepreneur, an author, if you have a community-based organization and would like to share more about what you do and how you do it, reach out to us, subscribe to Soul City Network, reach out to us, send us a message, and we can have a conversation. My name is Eartha Watts Hicks. I am an award-winning author and publisher, member of the Harlem Writers Guild, and I encourage you all to do the very best that you can every single day. And thank you again for joining us today on Good Morning Community. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.